Sheila responds with, "Yes, I expect it would. But what happened to her then?" And again we can see her curiosity coming across in the depiction of her character. The inspector responds with, "She had what seemed to her a wonderful stroke of luck. She was taken on in a shop, and a good shop too, Millward's." The use of the exclamation mark, Millward's, emphasises the recognition of her role beginning. "We go there. In fact, I was there this afternoon." And then the stage directions tell us archly to Gerald, "For your benefit." Here we can see proof of her status, the fact that she has enough money, enough expendable income, even if it is her family's, to actually go to a shop like this, whereas the Eva Smiths of the world are forced to work there. We can also see the expectations of women in Brumley society during this time. And we can see her flirtatious manner coming across through the italics, "your benefit." Gerald responds, smiling, "Good," reinforcing the expectations of women at the time. Sheila responds, "Yes, she was lucky to get taken on at Millward's." The inspector replies, "That's what she thought." And it happened that at the beginning of December that year, 1910, there was a good deal of influenza about, and Millwards suddenly found themselves short-handed, so that gave her her chance. It seems she liked working there. It was a nice change from the factory. She enjoyed being among the pretty clothes, I've no doubt. And now she felt she was making a good fresh start. You can imagine how she felt. Here we can see that the inspector is incredibly knowledgeable. He is omniscient or all-knowing, which is possibly the audience's first hint that he is not really who he says he is. We can see through the statement she enjoyed being among the pretty clothes, the proof of her poverty, the fact that she enjoys being there because she cannot afford them herself. Then we can see, you can imagine how she felt. This is deliberately said to evoke sympathy or pathos for Eva Smith, and consequently all of the lower class or working class people. We can see his change in tactics with Sheila. He is not as aggressive as he was with Burling. Sheila responds, "Yes, of course." Burling jumps in with, "And then she got herself into trouble there, I suppose." This implies that she is to blame, that she is a troublemaker, and again emphasises his desire to avoid any responsibility whatsoever. However, again, the inspector responds in a calm, collected tone. After about a couple of months, just when she felt she was settling down nicely, they told her she'd have to go. We can see that the inspector deliberately stalls and withholds most of the information to build suspense and make the tension rise. Burling again attempts to shirk responsibility by saying not doing her work properly. The inspector is quick to point out there was nothing wrong with the way she was doing her work. They admitted that. Again we can see that he does not lose his cool despite Burling's best efforts to take control. The inspector remains firmly in control. Burling then, again adamant to point out the fact that he is not to blame, states there must have been something wrong in a dismissive tone. The inspector replies, all she knew was that a customer complained about her, and so she had to go. Here we can see the caesura creates suspense, and the audience can predict that Sheila is somehow involved in this. This is further reinforced through the stage directions staring at him, agitated. When was this? In a somewhat demanding tone. The audience can assume or infer that because of her family's prominence and high economic position, Sheila was able to have a significant influence on the life of another person to satisfy her own vanity, being responsible for getting Eva Smith fired. And the audience can predict this from Sheila's reaction. The inspector responds, we are told impressively, at the end of January last year. Again we can see he is omniscient or all-knowing. What did this girl look like? The repetition of what further emphasises how worried Sheila is and how agitated she has become, suggesting her involvement. The inspector responds with, "If you'll come over here, I'll show you." We can see the use of the prop here to build tension and also create a sense of mystery, as nobody else can see the photograph. We can see that he moves nearer a light, perhaps a standard lamp, and she crosses to him. He produces the photograph. She looks at it closely, recognises it with a little cry, gives a half-stifled sob, and then runs out. The inspector puts the photograph back into his pocket and stares speculatively after her. The other three stare in amazement for a moment. Here we can see that the light is important, as we've already been told that when the inspector enters, that the light is harsh, because he's revealing to these people the harsh realities of their involvement. The light here is symbolic of him showing her the truth, of enlightening her, showing her the harsh reality. And her exit is proof of her genuine horror. Burling asks, "What's the matter with her?" And Eric rather astutely observes, "She recognised her from the photograph, didn't she?" The inspector remains taciturn, with a blunt yes. Burling gets angry. "Why the devil do you want to go upsetting the child like that?" Here we can see that he only cares about the feelings of his family, not his workers, as depicted through that stage direction angrily. We can also see that he is an incredibly patronising man, not giving his daughter the credit that she deserves and babying her despite the fact that she is in her 20s. We can also see the theme of the gender gap. However, the inspector, contrasting to Burling, is blunt and unsympathetic. "I didn't do it. She's upsetting herself."